Hey, welcome to the internet. How's it going? What's up? Welcome to the BoLS RPG Corner. I am JR, your friendly neighborhood Function Master.
Hey, and I'm Megan.
And we are the RPG team here at BoLS. And we're here today. I'm coming to you from an actual literal corner because the studio I normally cast from is occupied. But we are here today to talk to you about all of the cool new things that are going on in the RPG world. And right now, if you've been following the news, one of the biggest things happening is that the creators of Dragonlance are suing Wizards of the Coast over an alleged breach of contract regarding a planned trilogy of Dragonlance novels. Now, this whole thing kind of dropped over the weekend. Suit was filed late last week, Friday morning, and by the time the documents trickled out to the public, we kind of took the story and ran with it. A whole lot is happening here. You can find, we've got a write-up of the article on our website right now, but you can, if you go through and read the full court document, I really encourage you to do so if you've got the time, because it is wild. It is.
Those
absolutely
always are. If you can trudge through all the legalese, those are always super wild to read.
So the legalese and stuff aside, even there's stuff that you can I don't know, that it just reads I'll share with you the opening salvo here, which is Margaret Wise and Tracy Hickman collectively with Margaret Wise LLC plaintiff creators are among the most widely read and successful living authors and world creators in the fantasy fiction arena. Over 35 years ago, plaintiff creators conceived of and created the Dragonlance universe, a campaign setting for the Dungeons and Dragons role-playing game, the rights to which are owned by blah 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 blah, and it kind of talks about what D&D is. But then later on in paragraph or point number 2, where they talk about how successful Dragonlance has been, mentioning that they've sold more than 30 million copies, and their Dragonlance World of Krynn is arguably the most successful and popular world in shared fiction, rivaled in the fantasy realm only by the renowned works created by J.R.R. Tolkien. Which let's just take a moment and parse that one out, because I like Dragonlance. I read the books when I was in middle school, but I don't know if I'd go that far about them. They're good. You can enjoy them, but Ursula K. Le Guin comes to mind, and McCaffrey comes to mind.
It's a flex for sure. I don't even think I have any of them on my bookshelf, but I definitely have Tolkien and Anne McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Just by your examples. Not that they're not good or important or kind of a big part of just general fantasy culture, but
right.
That is a big flex. That's a claim to make.
Yeah, it's a big flex, and it's not necessarily the I don't know. It's not necessarily. I guess it's to establish their credibility and sort of laying out the groundwork for the damages they claim, which they are claiming $10 million in damages, and requesting a trial by jury. But the whole lawsuit document is kind of read by stuff like this, where they kind of outline what's been going on, and they talk about they talk about a lot of the controversies that WotC has been facing lately, alleging that one of the reasons that they pulled the plug on the project, and to use their words, in stunning and brazen bad faith, was because here in point number 9, they are alleging that the arbitrary decision to terminate the license agreement and thereby the book publishing contract was based on events that had nothing to do with the work or plaintiff creators. In fact, at nearly the exact point in time of the termination, defendant was embroiled in a series of embarrassing public disputes whereby its non-Dragonlance publications were excoriated for racism and sexism. This is absolutely true. WotC pulled the plug in August, we've learned in the suit, and that is right around the time that if you'll recall, they were coming under fire not a month prior. One of their prominent Black contractors, then using non-binary pronouns, Orion Black, who is called out by name in this document, is now had stepped down and had left left a lot of raised a lot of fuss, alleging that there was workplace hostility and mistreatment of creators of color and marginalized folks, and sort of a hostile culture at WotC. And then right around the same time, that's also when they came under fire for their continuing to sell and promote stuff like Oriental Adventures.
Yeah, it very much feels like they've just been embroiled in one issue after the other.
Right.
For months. They just can't seem to step out of it.
But then it gets weird because one of the things that they mention in their complaint, which is like, it makes it you could read it to be that they're complaining that they had to do sensitivity rewrites and that they weren't getting there, which is very interesting, because one of the things they mention is that they had and were requested to do all of these sensitivity rewrites, to kind of remove. There was an incident involving a love potion, talking about sexist and misogynistic kind of writing, and are saying that even though they delivered on these, the plaintiff wasn't happy, and the way that they canceled it was by saying that they never, they were not going to approve subsequent drafts. There's been apparently a lot of personnel change too, working with the trilogy, as two female editors, Liz Shue and Hilary Ross, were replaced by Nick Kelman and Paul Morrissey. Nick Kelman was a controversial figure last year in 2019, and came under fire for talking for his book Girls at Paean, which is again kind of rife with men writing women, let's say charitably, and uncharitably, accusations of misogyny and pedophilia. When the argument you have to make is technically all the girls described in the book are legal, you're not in a good place. So there's just, it's messy, right?
As soon as you put technically into a sentence, I start to get suspect.
Yeah, it's not exactly. Actually, this anime character is 700 years old, so it's fine. But it's kind of encroaching on that territory.
One of my least favorite tropes.
Hey, who doesn't hate it?
Good.
I mean, we all. But so, leaving aside, inflaming the anime world for right now, WotC has yet to respond, or at least at the time that we started streaming for this, they've yet to respond. I'm sure they're probably going to be filing a brief in response, so we'll be keeping you up to date. But this whole thing is so bizarre, because one novel was already done, and there's a second, a draft for the second novel that is somewhere in the the WotC
just the abyss.
Yeah,
flying around in the WotC limbo.
No one knows what that consists of, and are they will that work ever be released in any form? Who knows? We'll see. We'll have to see what WotC says, what they do. This is a very of particular interest because not long ago, I want to say maybe 2 weeks ago, but it could have been 5 years ago in these pandemic times, WotC confirmed that they were going to be releasing 3 new classic D&D settings over the next 2 years, with 2 coming in 2021 and then a third early in 2022, I believe. And a lot of folks were like, "Oh, well, Dragonlance, that's kind of all the rage right now." Joe Manganiello, one of the more like famous D&D celebs out there, who people who've never played D&D have heard of. That's like, that's when you're famous, when you're like outside of the community that loves you and people still know and love you. Arguably, Joe Manganiello is beloved by many communities, including the True Blood community and the Magic Mike community. Probably of which there's overlap in that Venn diagram.
He's got some range.
Yeah, he has some range. He has some muscles, and he has that chiseled jawline that just won't quit.
That's all the things. He's got all of the things. We got a comment from somebody who is a tabletop gaming fan and also an attorney, and says that this brief is really interesting.
Yeah,
which it doesn't tell me very much, but yeah, I mean,
it is. I would love to kind of see a lawyer break down this complaint, because like of the different role-playing game related lawsuits, and there have been many over the years, this is kind of one of the like more, I don't know, more expansive ones, because they call into question so much that I guess they're trying to make related to the issue at hand, which seems like it should be a very simple and straightforward, hey, they breached the contract for, they didn't pay us, they're not doing this, or they're trying to weasel out of it. But it seems like, depending on how you read this complaint, WotC might have had a good reason to do it. Our commenter might have a Twitter thread, so be sure to check that out.
I'm so interested in that. I mean, I have a belief that I don't necessarily think that there is such thing as a frivolous lawsuit. I think that if a lawyer is willing to work with you in most cases, there's probably a reason.
Oh yeah, I mean, fun fact, the whole, like, a lot of the frivolous lawsuit ideas come from PR
Exactly.
around the woman who was like severely burned, like to the point where you could see the bone by McDonald's hot coffee, and that, like,
that's one of my pet peeves, having to explain to people why that wasn't actually frivolous.
Yeah, right.
Here. So I'm 100% sure that there is something behind this, but I do wonder if they're just kind of throwing everything at the wall and just saying, like, here's a mountain of stuff.
Right.
Good luck with all of that.
So, I think seeing how this unpacks and how it shakes out, both in WotC's response and in the like, if it goes to court in the court battle, it'll be interesting. I think it's also fascinating, the requesting a trial by jury instead of like arbitration or something like that. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of ways you could take it. Like, is this meant to generate, publicity? Is this meant to like help strengthen their case? Are they looking for stuff from the court of public opinion? Do they want to just like air a bunch of dirty laundry at WotC? We don't know. This is all speculation. Like, we'll really have to wait and see like what happens, what comes out in the next few weeks. I know that at some point it's going to move forward. It'll probably take a couple of years. Longtime fans of Bell of Lost Souls will recall the Games Workshop Chapter House lawsuit, an infamous legal battle that dragged out over like 2 years before things finally kind of came to a head, which is why you can now still get cool, like, Space Marines generically elsewhere, and why all the dwarves are Duardin and the elves are elves.
Legally distinct.
Legally distinct, copyrightable. You can't copyright Space Marines, but you can copyright Thousand Suns, that sort of a thing. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens, and that is not even mentioning the Tortious Interference with Contract, which is one of the other ones in there. Tortious Interference seems to be all the rage when it comes to geeky entertainment lawsuits these days. There are a few others that, I mean, I guess it's probably not worth going into, but if you follow like anime, you can look at the suit from against Vic Mignogna, which or not against him, by him, against his alleged accusers, which is still in the works, that talked about tortious interference. We'll have to wait and see what happens. In the meantime, while we wait and see, we can take a look at all of the new stuff that's coming out. There are a ton of new D&D products this week, including probably the biggest one is the Curse of Strahd Revamped, which is the like ultimate collector's edition for the Curse of Strahd. It comes in a sweet coffin. The box cover has a picture of Strahd at the back of the box. On the inside, once you get past the dust jacket, has Strahd's stats. This is the most recent printing, so it contains all of the changes that they've made. Oh, sweet! We have the Twitter thread from our lawyer commenter, so check that out. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, I have that pulled up to read like as soon as we're done here because it's not super long, but there's more than I can read at this while we're streaming.
Right. While we're this is the sort of thing that just doesn't happen every day, you know. And it's like, well, cool. Let's go see what's next.
I'm really excited to see how this shakes out in the same way that I kind of enjoy watching other people like have tiffs. It's just far enough removed from me where it's fine either way, but I really want to know how this goes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it'll probably have some far-reaching impact eventually.
Yeah, the Strahd set looks really, really cool. This one comes with the tarot adjacent cards.
The Taroka deck.
And which I don't know. I think that's my favorite weird little detail when you can get things like that out of the game to actually physically play with at the table.
There's also a cool like map that you get. You get a new DM screen, and as mentioned, they've changed a whole bunch of different stuff about it now. Also releasing like next week, I think. Yeah, next week is the Heroes Feast, the official D&D cookbook, which is a hardcover book that features in character recipes for all the stuff from D&D, and also out today from 10 Speed is the latest book in the Young Adventurers Guide series, Beasts and Behemoths. This is the 6th book in the series by Jim Zub, and it's like another in-character look at playing in the world. We love these books here. They're great if you have kids that are wanting to get into D&D. Like this is probably the best way to do it. But also if you're just wanting to get someone into D&D, this is a really good way to do it. Like combo one of the Young Adventurers guides with like the starter box. Even if you don't show the Young Adventurers guide to someone else, that kind of it's some of the best stuff I've seen for how to talk about D&D to someone who doesn't know anything about D&D, because they kind of present all the information in character. They don't get bogged down with rules. They're just like, well, how do I kind of picture the world? What does a longsword look like? What does plate mail look like? You know, what does that mean? What does it mean to be a fighter? What does it mean to be a monk? What is a Tarask, right? Like all of that stuff gets explained in a very like characterful, flavorful way that draws you into the world, so that you can just like start playing and get excited about it. Both Adam and I like read through these books and we loved them. If you haven't checked them out, this is a great place to jump in, because it kind of talks about the big beefy monsters that like you don't often get to mess with, although in the latest Rime of the Frostmaiden, the Tarask makes a big appearance and can be one of the weapons you use, because there's a scroll of Tarask summoning, so worth checking out. As you can see, there is just a ton of stuff. You can kind of check it out on either Zub's site, 10 Speed Press's site. You can also find it on D&D. We'll be talking about that one here soon enough. That's of course, the other thing, we're entering the second week now. We're midway through, and we'll soon be entering week 3 of the Baldur's Gate 3 early access launch. If you have not checked it out yet, we've got a review of it. We love it. It's a ton of fun. Like, it is not finished yet. So like, it's early access, and Larian meant it when they said this is not the finished, polished game. If you just want to play the game like the way it was meant to be played, the typical traditional, I buy a game, I play it, I finish it, I sink 150 hours into it or whatever, then this is not for you. If you want to like help them shape the game, if you want to like both play test it, find bugs, and offer feedback and say like, actually this is working out really well, or this change that you've made isn't, then this is totally it. If you just want to get to that sweet mind flayer content, this is also for you. It is, I mean, it's the full price for the game, so you're not like, you're just buying it basically a year-ish early. Mm-hmm. You're only getting to play through the first act, but I've sunk about 20 something hours into it. I think I'm near the end finally of my first playthrough, but there is a lot there, and like, I want to play it again. I think something that a lot of people are kind of sleeping on about Baldur's Gate 3 is how much of a variety there is. I think this is one of the first games I would really enjoy playing through and not save scumming. Because there's so much that is interesting and that happens when you fail. So like, you make a skill check when you're playing a game, and you can totally fail, and that's not like game over or immediate like, let me go back and change things. Like, the story changes, it gets interesting, like if you fail your save against the Harpies, like, you still get to fight them. It's just they have like an advantage ahead of time, but then you also got something for falling for their songs. So like, there's a lot of interesting stuff. I think without going into spoilers too much, you should not be afraid to let some of your party members die because they can. And it turns out that the developers have accounted for that, at least with some of them. So there's... Yeah.
I love when the video games really feel like they're pulling from D&D. Like, they're making a game that D&D players want to play, because it really is very much Dungeons and Dragons, and it sounds like that's what you're finding with this game, where failing can just be part of the story.
It is the most D&D video game ever. Like, and not just like, it's because it's got high fantasy adventure, but it's also incredibly whimsical in some places, and sort of weirdly high fantasy, and also kind of cavalier about death. I kind of am working under the suspicion that the game is meant to be played like the canonical version is the evil playthrough, even though I know most people will play the good version. So that's also because like 2 of your party members at least are definitely evil, and they definitely have opinions about that, and some of the actions you can take are questionable, and you can always murder your way out of a problem. I know I did on my on my first run, which I'm near the end of. I mean, you've got a mind flayer in your head, and not everyone likes that, and sometimes you just have to fight them. So
it's fine. Sometimes that's just where your day goes. But looking at you, spoiler, what's your favorite part?
Okay, so my favorite part so far, without spoiling things, is a scene that came up after a fight went catastrophically awry and one of my party members died. My second favorite part is something that is, I mean, it's sort of a minor spoiler because it talks about a monster that's in the game, but it gives no other context. That's the aforementioned Harpy fight. It showcases like what Baldur's Gate 3 does so well, because there's like so many different levels. Like you fight them like in a Harpy nest, and you might not even encounter them if you weren't just trying to explore the map to see what is everywhere. Like, it's in this part of the map that you have no incentive to go to other than just to see what's over there. But then you get like caught up in this cliffside battle, and like they might lure your party to their doom, or you might like get to like push them off of cliffs and all this other stuff that Baldur's Gate 3 kind of innovates with, which is like all of their maps feel like they've got vertical levels to them, which I know for a fact most like at the table games tend to be very flat in terms of their encounters. Like, how often do you have, cliffs that you could just climb up when you're fighting someone? In theory, it should be everywhere, but if you're drawing on the battle map, you're drawing on the battle map.
Yeah, I find that in games I play, it depends very much on whether or not the GM physically has like one of those stackable 3D map setups, because that just makes it so much easier to visualize on the map where we are as far as a cliff goes. But exactly. Yeah, I feel like usually it is very flat, kind of. Even when we're in caves, or on mountains, it feels very flat.
And it has definitely made me rethink the way I build encounters, and as a player, it's made me rethink the way I look at the world around me, because like you can get up to shenanigans. Like you can pick up random stuff, and like if there's a hole, you can fill it in with rocks or whatever. You can cover up traps if you can't disarm them. There's all kinds of alternatives you can do. You can throw jugs to lure enemies outside of their patrol routes. There's all kinds of stuff you can get up to. I really want to try out the multiplayer because it's Larian, and so one of my favorite things to do in Divinity Original Sin was, while playing multiplayer, go around and pickpocket all the NPCs that were talking to the PC. And you can absolutely do that. So
would you consider this like an open world game, or is it just very whatever you want to do?
No, it's like an open world game, very much. It's like if you took the idea of an isometric RPG, party driven RPG, and kind of made it. It's not open world, like you'll explore a map and find like a ton of different collectibles and things to find, but it does reward exploring the map. Like you aren't, I don't know, you're never going to have to go collect all the different crystals, to assemble to get the best sword or anything like that. Like, there's quests and there's stories and encounters to find. It'll be marked on your map as you discover it, but it's not like it's not like a Skyrim or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's neat. I obviously haven't gotten my hands on it yet. I'm always about 7 years behind everybody else in video games, so I'll play sometime in 2030, I'm sure.
Well, so firsthand, like right now, how good Skyrim is. It's older than that. It was 2011, but it was Game of the Year till like 2014, I want to say.
No, but yeah, exactly. But I lost my train of thought. It derailed.
No,
I'll make it to the station eventually.
If you're playing through BioShock Infinite, be careful. It gets weird at the end.
Oh my god, it's getting very weird. That's actually exactly what I'm playing right now.
That did come out 7 years ago. You were right. Wow. Well, okay, we're not topping that, folks. Let's go from here. That is the news. I am JR.
I'm Megan. I'm gonna go play BioShock some more.
Yeah, be sure and tune back in for us. Back in here, we've got all kinds of shows happening. Join us next week for the RPG Corner again, Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Central Time. All of these times are at Central. You can also check out Goat Boy Paints on Twitch, twitch.tv/BellaBlasSouls. Wednesdays at 8, you can join Goat Boy to paint. As is everything these days, pants are optional, because no one will know. Tabletop Spotlight is here, where we show you all the latest stuff in the tabletop world, thanks to our friends alongside our friends at Dragon's Lair. And you can join Adam here Fridays at 3 p.m. For that. You can also check out Mondays at 3 p.m. the Wargame Show, where we talk about all the news in the wargaming world. So if you're curious about whether or not the new Space Marine Codex is broken, or you want to know what's new for Necrons or anything else like that, come check us out on Mondays. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your week, and take care, folks. Bye.
See ya.